Hello again, everybody. Gary Furman and Stephen Wagner here, the newest member of our CaneSport recruiting team, and we are here to talk about two-sport athlete Collins Acheampong, the flip from the University of Michigan on Tuesday night, and how he might fit as a Miami Hurricane. And Stephen, this is a great way to bring you into our CaneSport team as we analyze an athlete like this, because we were talking, and I thought you were really astute in this regard, in that a coach once told you that you don't have to be a great evaluator when you look at a kid that is 6'7", 250 pounds, can jump out of a gym, can walk on a football field, having not played very much football, and look like a 4-star, maybe even a 5-star prospect in some people's eyes, and be a target of every major football program in America, and now finally land with the Miami Hurricanes. We're going to show some videotape in a minute, but your initial thoughts after analyzing the game in football and basketball of Collins Acheampong.
Yeah, absolutely, Gary. There's nothing like a little bit of baptism by fire. But after taking a look at Collins, it's very apparent to me from a football side of things that right now he's kind of raw. You see this kid with unbelievable size, unbelievable athleticism that hasn't really had a chance to develop in the football world. And, it's kind of to be expected with a kid who's just getting thrown back into football all of a sudden after having a pretty remarkable basketball career. And, you watch some of his basketball highlight tapes and, the kid's clearly a natural. He's clearly been playing basketball for a while, but what really jumps out to me is his just overwhelming athletic ability, period. I mean, you look at these block shots, you look at these dunks, you look at basically every clip from this highlight reel, and it's all dunks. He has like one pass and he just has a freakish amount of dunks. And, if you wanted a defensive end to play basketball, you wanted a long, lanky, athletic, quick twitch guy to play the game of basketball. You would probably want him to have a game kind of like this. And looking at some of his football stuff, you can tell he doesn't have a lot of moves right now. He doesn't have a crazy amount in his arsenal, but those are things that you can coach. And yeah, it's like we were just talking about. You can coach a lot of things. You can coach these moves, you can coach techniques, you can teach someone, how football is supposed to be played. One thing you cannot coach is, what is he, 6'7", 250 pounds? That is all natural, baby.
Well, it's funny because I worked on this highlight tape for a while today, and I couldn't find one clip of him taking an outside jump shot. It's like every single shot that he took, and the reason why you're seeing it on this tape like this, every single shot that he took was a dunk. And if you have a guy, if you're a basketball coach, and I don't know how much basketball you played. I coached basketball. I coached kids basketball. And I'll tell you right now, I never had a 6'7" guy. But if I did, he wouldn't have left the paint either. And I think that's why you saw Collins dunking after dunking after dunking in that highlight tape. But, I watched this guy, and it reminds me of a couple guys that have come into the Miami program in the past. It makes me think of Gregory Rousseau in recent times, who came in with a similar lanky physique. I don't think, Gregory, from what I remember, did not weigh 250 pounds even. Like, he was probably more like, I'm guessing 200, 210, and he now is obviously grown into an NFL defensive end monster. Calais Campbell is another one that came in very big, very tall like that, very raw, and it took him time to develop. And he really, by the time he ended his Miami Hurricane career, he was a good defensive end, but he was nothing like the beast that he would become in the National Football League, as he kept getting stronger, kept getting coached, kept learning the skills of his trade. But you could see, even though Collins was primarily a basketball player growing up, and as he started high school, he even had to switch high schools to go to another school out in California just so he could play football because they didn't offer football at his high school. And this guy shows up, okay, at the Future 50 last year and had played hardly any football, but people were obviously identifying the type of player he could be, which is why he was invited to the Future 50. And he just wowed everybody, man. It's like, on three made him a 4-star just off of those workouts at the Future 50. And then this year he tries to play football and he gets hurt after 3 games. And it was a struggle to put this highlight tape together that I'm getting ready to roll here for us to comment on. But we were able to put together 3 minutes and 13 seconds, ladies and gentlemen, of Collins Acheampong football highlights. So get ready, fasten your seatbelt. Steven, I'm going to play it. I'm going to let you talk for a moment and give us your thoughts.
Absolutely. So this is really going to be, a lot of the kind of stuff that I was saying earlier. You watch at all these plays, and the one thing that kind of stands out to me is how, I guess in kind of a weird sense, almost how kind of unremarkable a lot of this stuff is, because you don't see, someone making, these spectacular hand movements, these inside moves. A lot of this is just him, strictly overpowering these kids with his raw athleticism. And, that to me kind of signifies that he may not be a person who instantly comes in, and I mean day one, you're like, oh man, this is the next Calais Campbell for the Hurricanes. He may be a guy where this turns into a little bit more of a developmental project. And what I mean by that is, maybe he just, is a rotational piece his freshman year. Maybe he even redshirts, depending on what the coaching staff wants to do with him. But whenever you have, this length, this size, this athleticism, and this speed, I mean, you look at these clips. I mean, right here, he's able to just, hold his ground against a blocker without, really, remarkable technique or anything. You see him just getting around guys with his speed and his footwork. You've got to feel pretty good about just the raw foundation that has already been laid with a kid like this. Like we keep saying, you can teach so many things. You cannot teach this sort of size and speed. And to me, just watching him, it's pretty obvious, why he's a 4-star commit. You want 4 stars who actually look like 4 stars, and he 100% looks exactly like a 4-star should. When I say 4-star defensive end, that's the kid that that's the kid that you want to see. That's the kid that you want to look up and envision. And it certainly looks like the Canes have landed him.
And you certainly can't coach that wingspan. And you saw it on the outside and on the inside, where he's able to get his hands up in the quarterback's face. And it's pretty hard to throw through that kind of wingspan. And you could see that they're going to be able to use Collins, not just as an edge rusher on the outside. They're going to be able to put him inside a tackle in passing situations, creating havoc in the passing lanes for the quarterbacks looking down the middle of the field. But I agree with you, Stephen. I do think that he will be a little bit of a project. I think that his freshman year will be a developmental year because he has not played a lot of football, that he is going to show up very raw. But I think it's good that he'll show up in January. He'll participate in the workouts all spring. He'll be in spring practice. And he'll be in the summer workouts. So by the time we get to August, he will have received a lot of coaching from Rod Wright, Jason Taylor, Coach Salavea, and should be a much more polished player from a technique standpoint than he is right now coming out of high school. So all in all, I think you would certainly have to agree that when you consider that he was committed to Michigan, that Michigan is looking like it's making a beeline again for the college football playoff, that Miami was able to steal him from the Wolverines here purely based on their ability as recruiters and to build relationships. No matter how you slice and dice this one up, Stephen, film or no film, this is a win-win for the Miami Hurricanes.
Definitely. And right now, because of kind of the direction that Michigan is trending in, if Michigan and John Harbaugh go after an offensive or a defensive lineman, my initial bias, my instinct is, hey, they must see something in this guy, because the way the Wolverines have kind of built their program is they're building it front to back with the offensive and defensive lines, and that's pretty similar to what Mario Cristobal did at Oregon. He had in 2019, I think it was, with Justin Herbert, he had an elite offensive line, just a spectacular offensive line. He had some very good defensive lines in there as well. And so, what I really think this is it's kind of following that same blueprint that Cristobal followed at Oregon, which is you build your program front to back. You start with the offensive and defensive lines. You follow that up with your linebackers and your running backs, and then you fill it in with skill positions on the outside.
All right, he's Stephen Wagner. I'm Gary Furman. Hopefully you've enjoyed this look at Miami's latest commit, Collins Acheampong. If you like this content on our YouTube channel, hit your subscribe button, hit your like button. It helps us with the algorithms at YouTube and helps us grow our audience. If you're not already a subscriber to CaneSport.com, get your butt over to the website. You can, if nothing else, you can read Stephen's great work that he's going to be doing for us now that he has joined our CaneSport.com team. So for Stephen, I'm Gary. We'll see you next time, everybody.